Everybody, Lane Wilkins. So we talked last time about our next set of striking techniques. We're going to do some karate stuff, right? So today we're going to do basically what's called a reverse punch, right? We're going to do from our stance, a back fist, okay? Also a hammer fist, and this hammer fist is this way, but also a reverse hammer fist too. And the reason we're going to do those is we talked about the different applications that these strikes allow us to do from the eye gouge, right, from the flick. This is just another good, strong power punch, very similar to the cross in its power, but it's from a karate stance. And so we'll kind of go into a little bit more of that and why it's a useful strike to learn. And then we'll also talk about how we can apply some of these things, right, to our knife stuff. So we were talking about the jabs last time, the hooks and all these things. But from this reverse kind of a hammer type stuff to hammer fist, and how these applications can be used when you put an edged weapon into your hand. Okay, so stick around. Let's get busy. Okay, so we're going to work on the reverse punch is what we're going to start with. Reverse punch is from our stance. If you recall, remember we talked about in lesson one is just kind of falling back in that stance, letting your hips kind of set down, right? Remember we talked about getting that knee up. We're going to get into some kicks next time. So when you come down, you want to set, make sure you can get that knee up so we can do some kicking stuff. But for this, what we're going to do is we're going to do a reverse punch. So this is a karate punch, right? And it's basically I'm standing here and I go like that, right? This type of stuff. So you're coming off of your same mechanics as we use for reverse punches and our hooks and our jabs. So we're going to use that back foot, hip, and shoulder. So you can see there. My heel's up, it's lined up with my calf, my hip, my shoulder, all work together. Okay? So that's what this is. So it's a quick hit. For the application we're going to use for this reverse punch is, I'm not so worried about it being a super, super hard punch, although we can use it that way, right? The reason I want to use this is if I'm in a tight situation and I'm thinking my cross, I'm coming here and I'm having to wind back. I don't want someone to see me. I don't want my shoulders to give that away too much. And I'm in close to something. I may use this reverse punch as a quick, just kind of I'm blocking it, bam, right in the solar plex. Knock that air out right in a rib, or maybe even a liver shot. Catch that bottom of that liver right there. Probably more effective to do a slight uppercut in that liver to get under that rib cage, but you might be able to catch the tip of that thing, if you hit that hard enough. So that's kind of what I want to use this for, okay? So our practice is going to be this. We're going to get into our stance, right? We're going to put our hands out just like we're going to get into our fight. Into our boxing stance or karate stance that we have. So drop in, and what I want to do is I'm going to take this punch, and I want this hand to rotate like this, right? See how my hand's coming up? This one comes tucked back underneath. This is the way I want to learn this. We may not use this going forward, but I want you to learn this because this is the proper reverse strike, okay? And then when you do that, you come and you switch, okay? And make sure you're using that hip, right? Even from here, when you're coming off of this reverse, after you throw your punch, you're throwing this. This is going to be almost like, remember we talked about that hook, that front hand hook where we're just using our hip. That's all we're using on this side. Okay, so we're here, we're actually coming in, we're throwing all that into it. This one, we're basically dropping back onto our heel and pulling this hand back up. So this is going to this hand will not be as strong as this one, right? So bam, wham. But you're still getting some good hip pop in there, some good motion. So both are strong enough to hurt. Do 20 on that side. Remember we switch our hands. Get on this side, do the same thing, okay? This is your motion, okay? Make sure you're twisting that foot just like we did in our boxing stuff, right? and do 20 on that side, okay? Work on those. Again, if they don't come perfectly natural, it's fine. Just remember the mechanics of it and try to get those hips and movement in there. We'll continue to work on these things as we move forward. But work on those and do 20 on each side, and we'll come back and we'll do hammer fist. Okay, so hopefully the reverse punches, you kind of got the mechanics working and you feel pretty good with that. Like I said, it's going to be we're not going to use the actual karate mechanics. I want you to learn how to do that so it becomes familiar with your body, because when you start mixing karate and boxing techniques together, it can get a little, it can feel a little bit odd. So what I don't want to do is to get you in that spot too quick. So I want you to get comfortable with mechanics, and once we do, then I think the flowing these together will be a little bit easier to understand. So just bear with me on that if it doesn't feel good yet, as far as the mechanics on it. Okay, so we said the next one we're going to do is some hammer fist. So the hammer fist is another karate strike, obviously. Would I use a hammer fist strike in a self-defense situation? Probably yes. A ton, probably not. Again, I think the applications of learning this and then putting an edged weapon in our hand is going to be a good technique as part of the knife boxing stuff that we're going to study. So hammer fist. Basically, you have two ways of doing a hammer fist, and if you've seen any of the previous videos, then you've seen me talking about there's a difference between a hammer fist and reverse punch, right? And a back fist. I'm sorry, hammer fist and back fist. The hammer fist, you're hitting with the back side of your fist. That's why it's called a hammer. It's like a hammer, right? There's even a thing called a ridge hand, where you open your hand and you come across and hit somebody in the back of the neck. I'm not going to teach that because honestly, I don't think I'd ever use it. But you could do that hammer fist like that if you wanted to come across, hit somebody in the back of the jawline. So there's different ways of using this hammer fist. I'm going to teach two today. One is going to be what I call like a reverse, right? So it's just coming straight in. So we're in our fighting stance. I'm sitting, my hips down low, and I'm here. And a guy comes in and throws a punch, and we're going to get into blocks after kicks. So I come in, I might even do blocks before kicks. At least I think that's the better progression on the training. So we'll do some blocks next time. So I'm here, guy throws, say he's here, he throws a hook, I block it. Instead of me having to lift my elbow to come in with the jab, right, or worrying about, this hand coming, so I'm going to leave my guard up here so he doesn't throw a hook on this other hand, I block, and what I can do is come straight out of that right into his face, right? So it's like a jab. That's about the strength of a jab, right? Because I'm here, and I basically it's not even strong as a jab because I'm not using any hip. It's all shoulder. But it's fast, right? So I block, bam, right on top of it, okay? So it's just another quick a speed strike from blocks is what I would say a hammer fist is the best for. But if I got my knife in hand, my edged weapon, right? I come in and wham, it's a stab, right? Bam. I'm coming here and guy throws a hand, I block it right into. So that's the true application of the back fist, this reverse back fist that I've used. Okay, so that's the reverse back fist. So get in your stance and just do this, right? I'm looking straight at the camera here, come here and just do that. See my hand's coming in, it's not turning. That's gonna be the back fist that we're gonna learn next. That's the back fist. This is just a hammer fist. I'm hitting with the edge of my fist. Wham, okay? And like I said, this was something I might use, right, as a block, bam, and come around on top of that, set myself up with a good cross, right? If I have an edged weapon, much different story, right? Now I'm coming in and I'm here, and the guy, throws a punch and wham, just straight into it, okay? So that'll be our reverse hammer, okay? It's this, okay? Then switch our hands, and we'll do this, okay? Make sure you're using that, right? Get that shoulder into it, okay? And it's even like pushing a little bit off your back foot, if you will. Not much, it's just leaning forward almost, is really what it is. So don't push off, lean a tad bit into it, but not too much. I'm leaning, let's see, here, I'm leaning that much, okay? So I'm just getting a little bit of weight in behind that strike, okay? So do 20 of those. And then the real, the hammer fist itself is from your back hand, right? And again, what I would use this for in real fight and self-defense type mode, a guy throws kind of a crazy haymaker or a hook, and I can come here and right off of this, come straight down the jawline, okay? So it's a block, bam, bam, and right on top of that, set myself up for a nice, front hook, coming out of that, okay? And then sets me up for a cross, okay? So again, it's a blocking. I use it for a block. Instead of lifting my shoulder up to throw that cross, which you can do easily, it's just a fast boom, and it comes straight down that arm, right? So boom, straight down on top of their face. So you never give them a chance to come roll on top of it or underneath it, because you block and it's a straight in punch, okay? So from the back, it looks like this. I'm using the same mechanics, turning my foot, my hip, and my shoulder. Again, wham, strike, okay? Wham, strike. Wham, strike, okay? Switching hands, wham, strike, right? Strike, right? And then so from the side, I guess this side, from here, if I'm off the back, I'm coming in, I'm striking, okay? Wham, wham, same thing here, wham, okay? Those are your reverse, or those are your hammer fists, a reverse and a hammer fist, okay? 20 front and back. So you'll do a set of 8, 2, 4, 6, 8, front and back. Do those reps. Make sure you're paying attention to your mechanics of this stuff. Again, I don't care about strength right now. I want you to work on mechanics, getting that stuff feeling comfortable for you, and then the speed and power will come along with it. Okay. So let's get those knocked out and come back and we'll do our back fist and wrap it up. Okay, so did our hammer fist and reversed and regular hammer fist, right? So should have been a total of 80 reps if you did 20 reps on each hand, front and back. Okay, so back fist. Back fist. The reason I want to teach this is because when we start getting into some elbow strikes, okay, this is a great follow-up to an elbow strike, right? So if I do just a quick, and these are going to be some, remember we talked about in lesson 1, some speed drills, and when we get into speed drills, I'll show you this. So if I'm here and I come in here and I strike with an elbow, I can roll right on top of that, right? It's just an easy kind of just a transition, okay? It's also great from an eye flick, right? So I'm here, come over top of their hands. So they're sitting like this, and I can come roll right on top of their hands and get right in that eye, so, pocket right in the eye, okay? Those are the two real true applications of this strike. There's another one that we've used, back in when you're sparring and stuff, and you can come in and basically, if I'm here and I've got a guy who's got maybe his hands a little low, I could just roll my fist over and just run into it. It's more of a point thing, so we're not scoring points on the street. So this is the difference between training to sport fight versus training to street fight, right, or self-defense. These things that you pick up in martial arts and other types of self-defense studies, or whatever you want to call them, they always have things that are a bit silly. They're fun to learn, but the reality of it, you would never use them in a real fight. So, but the back fist, again, if I had my edged weapon in here, this might be a good, a straight kind of a roll into this, right? So if I'm here and the guy's got his hands low, I may come in on top of that, right? So instead of kind of a hammer fist where you're coming out of the side, we may be coming on top of this. And like I said, the other application of this would be an eye flick, right? So I'm flicking them right in the eye. And those are really good, but the only things that we would do with this. So is this a super strong punch hit? No, and you can only throw it off your front hand. So if I'm here, and even from a parried block, you know, like we're talking to get into blocks next time. There's a technique called parrying. It's basically it's when they're throwing their hand, and it's you kind of blocking it either, you know, with your wrist or open hand and moving it away, right? And you can come right back on top of that. So I might use it from a quick, you know, kind of something to throw into someone's face to set them up for a cross or something like that. So won't spend a ton of time on reverse punches, but I want you to learn it so you know what it looks like, you know how to defend it, and if you ever want to use it, there's some applications to use it. So here we are from our lead hand, right? So I'm standing dominant, right hand, left hand out, and I'm coming in, and you're lifting your hip up just a little bit. It's almost like an uppercut when we lifted, without the mechanics behind this, but it's just a lift and a roll. So your hand is you're coming up and rolling like this, okay? So again, like I said, if it was the application that we might use on this, I'm coming and rolling, I might flick someone in the eye with that, right? Something along those lines. If it's a parry, a back fist, right? If it's an elbow, maybe a back fist. So there's some applications to the back fist. It may not be your first choice from a strike, but it's good. It's a good one to know because it's a solid strike. And also when we start talking, remember we're talking about the speed drills. A lot of the speed drills are coming from these backhand fists, right? So as I'm rolling in, I'm doing a lot of these backhand fists. So the speed drill piece of that is really, it's not so much for self-defense. Like I'm not gonna sit there and do all this stuff on people. It's really, I want to get your hands faster for blocks and for striking. So as you're blocking and striking, all this speed drill technique that we'll start learning later, it comes into play when you're blocking punches and knees and stuff like that. It just gets your eye-hand coordination up to a different level, right? And you can also use some of those stuff to push some people back. You know, you need to kind of just work in a couple of quick punches to get someone back on their heel a little bit to, you know, give them a good hit. Okay, so back fist, boom, boom, switch sides, back fist. Do 20 on each hand, and we'll wrap it up in a second. So, hope the back fist and the hammer fists and the reverse punches and all that stuff is feeling pretty good. Like I said, repetition. Keep working on those things, and it'll become more and more natural to you as we move forward. So the next time we get together, we're going to do some blocks. I think that will be a good addition to kind of where we are with our training. So learning, we got our stance, we got our boxing, you know, we got some karate stuff, you know. And the next thing we want to start doing is how are we blocking, right? So we'll get into showing you how to do some simple, you know, I see a lot of people use this technique here when they're throwing punches. The only reason I don't care so much, I get where they're coming from, trust me, because this completely covers your head. But so when I'm coming up here and striking, right, I can come here without completely covering my head. I can come here, and remember, that's one of the reasons we were talking about those hammer fists, right? So I block, I can come straight out of that in a reverse hammer punch right in the face, right? And right down that arm, wham, okay? Instead of doing this and then having to readjust I'm not quite sure why some people do this, and trust me, I'm not poking holes in people's ideas and thoughts around training. That's never my intent here. Everyone has a reason why they teach things the way they do. It just doesn't feel natural for me to duck under an arm and then having to readjust for a punch or a strike, okay? Now maybe I could come in here and do that, but then I'll leave myself open for cross. So I'm more inclined to say I'm doing this, right? And then coming in here like that and then like that. So we're gonna get into some basic blocks, you know. From the stance, you know, we talk about this, I always call it my windshield wipers, right? They're kind of like this is my windshield wipers. This is down here is covering my stomach and my ribs, and my growing area. This up here is kind of covering my head. and I'm blocking, and when I'm fighting, I'm trying to keep my hands not in a fist, but more open. Maybe, I'm sure some people will say that's crazy because you end up breaking your fingers. To me, it gives you more space to block. And yes, I've had my fingers broken, not so much in a block, but getting twisted up and broken. It's still okay. I can still function fairly well. So I'd rather have a little bit more space to catch something, to come off and to do a reverse and then set myself for a punch, than doing this and having something slide the top of my fist and hit me in the face or in the eye. So I'll get into my reasons why I do the types of blocks that I do. Again, that speed training is going to come into big play in this, so we'll get into that. So, but I think let's do some blocks, and then after that we'll do some kicks, and then we'll get into some speed drills. And that should have pretty much the majority of our kind of our basic fighting stance stuff in play. And then what we'll do is we'll have to start getting into some other types of self-defense stuff, like some judo stuff and things of that nature. Okay, and Muay Thai stuff. So definitely elbows, some knees, things like that. It's great applications within the Thai boxing community as well. So practice hard, get those reps in. Trust me, the more those reps you get in, the better you will be. There's just no doubt about that. It's what you put into it, it's what you're going to get out of it. So practice hard, and the next time we'll get into some blocks.